You know, one of the biggest shockers with researching influence, persuasion, negotiation over the past 20 years is that up to 95% of persuasion and influence involves the subconscious trigger. But most persuaders, most salespeople just focus on the 5%. One's emotional, below the radar, one's logical. Sure, you can data dump the 52 reasons to do it, all the logical reasons, but that's not how the human brain works. Which one are you? Are you focusing on the 95% or the 5%? Let's understand this. Let's change the game for you. Let's do it.
Maximize your influence. Kurt Mortensen is the author of Persuasion IQ, Laws of Charisma, and the best-selling book, Maximum Influence.
Welcome back to Maximize Your Influence. Kurt Mortensen here, podcast 561, where we talk about the unconscious, the subconscious, why we do what we do. We've learned more about the human brain in the last 10 years, the last 100 years combined. It's amazing what science is telling us. So thanks for being here. Appreciate your love and support. Tell your family, friends, and enemies about the podcast. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and YouTube. Hope you're excited for the week, for the month, for the future. You can only look at the future with great excitement or great worry. It's your choice. Worry is negative goal setting. Worry is a form of fear. Worry just means your vision's not strong enough. You don't want it enough. I know your knee-jerk is, yes, I want it. But when you're full of worry, it's because your vision's not strong enough. Get excited about your future. Visualize your future. Create it mentally. And once you've created it mentally, it will not only get you excited, it will motivate you, and it'll change the game for you. So let's kick it off with the Persuasion Ninja. Now, as you know, we do either a blunder or a ninja, or sometime even a blinja. We'll get to that one next week. But this is a ninja. We've talked a little bit about this before, a couple months ago, actually. Anyway, had a friend that wanted to go see a home in this neighborhood they loved. Realtor, big smile, good handshake. But the big thing was, they had potpourri going on the stove with a little hint of cinnamon in the air. Remember we've talked about our olfactory system, that a smell can send us back 10, 20, 30 years. Whatever it is, that perfume cologne of an old boyfriend or girlfriend can trigger, well, good or bad feelings. I mean, they could have cooked bread. They could have cooked cookies. A lot of real estate agents do that so they could have cookies to give people to the open house. So there's a reciprocity factor there. This one had potpourri with cinnamon. There's something about the smell of cinnamon that just opens people up. Now, again, they could have done bread. Now, that could be a bad trigger for some people, but for most, that's good because we know at supermarkets, when they pump the smell of that newly baked bread into the supermarket, it increases bread sales 300%. But just the potpourri, the cinnamon, it makes the home more warm, more inviting, opens people up. We know that luxury car dealerships infuse their showrooms with the smell of fresh leather, fresh interiors. We know even when they sell used cars, they put a special scent in there. They spray the new car smell. Because the technology exists right now to make a new car without a new car smell. But people want the new car smell and it sells better. Because think about this. Let's imagine you went to an open house, perfect neighborhood, perfect price, perfect size, perfect amount of rooms. You could tell the carpets have not been cleaned and reek of cat urine. That would have a bad association trigger. Even musty or a mold smell could have a bad association trigger. Hey, logically, you know you could fix that cat urine smell. You could replace the pads, replace the carpets, clean the house. You know logically, but that might just be enough to trigger that subconscious feeling, not right, don't like it, ew, versus relying just your logical side like, yeah, I can fix this. So that is our Persuasion Ninja. Think about your triggers. Think about smell. Because I'll just say this, you're too close to it. You don't know. Like a chiropractor I was working with, reeked of BO. They didn't know. Nobody told them, but people didn't come back. Some people wear too much perfume or cologne. In fact, that's a big complaint in the workplace where people are wearing too much. So even too much of a good thing can hurt. I mean, you want to smell like you've showered, but be careful of a strong odor because your olfactory system, your sensory system gets used to it. Other people, when they smell it for the first time, ooh, too much. So think about that ninja and how you can apply it. Next phase, we're going to go into our geeky Scarly article. And this first one I've talked about before. And this is going to set us up for subconscious triggers and our content for the day. Now, a little disclaimer, this is not for the faint of heart. Kind of hard to grasp, but it's interesting science you need to understand because we want to think we're in more control of our lives, but our brain's an interesting thing that we need to understand. So this is titled The Conscious and Unconscious Thought Process. This is in Neuro Insights, Yale University, and Medical News Today. They say it's estimated that our unconscious can process roughly 11 million pieces of information per second. That's the piece that's like, wow, hard to grasp. 11 million pieces per second our subconscious brain is absorbing and processing. Now, our conscious brain can do 40 pieces of information per second because our working memory has a limited processing capability. 11 million to 40. But let me just kind of put that more in perspective, make it a little easier. Again, this was the big shocker when I was researching maximum influence. Up to 95% of persuasion influence involves a subconscious trigger. So all the 11 million pieces coming in is getting processed. We're not even aware of it. But let's just say it's 100. Let's say 100 things are happening at one time, and we're aware of 5. So think about your prospect. There's 100 things going on, but they're only aware of 5. I mean, are they listening to sound of the ventilation system? Are they looking at the whiteboard? Are they smelling this? Are they looking at this object? Is it something you said? All these things are happening. What are they aware of? I mean, we don't have to think about our breathing, our digestive system, making our heart pump. That's all under the radar. That's our subconscious mind taking care of that. That's part of this process. But we're only aware of a couple things at a time. That's why the subconscious, the unconscious, is so powerful. It's processing all this information, which trigger feelings. That's why persuasion has to feel right. I mean, you've met people for the first time, you didn't like them. You're not sure, there's just something about them. And the brain has to do this, because if you thought about every aspect of driving, there are hundreds of things happening at the same time that you have to be aware of. Your subconscious mind will trigger your conscious mind. Oh, there's a soccer ball bouncing in the street. There's children around. That car's coming into your lane. That was in your subconscious. Now it comes to your conscious mind. Now it's interesting. Dr. Morcella of San Francisco University said, our conscious mind is no more than a passive machine running one simple algorithm to receive and serve up what is already analyzed and decided by the unconscious mind. Already decided, already happened. Now that pushes it for some people, but you have to understand the power of the unconscious, the subconscious mind. So it's absorbing all the information, filters it, and tells your conscious mind what's important. And there are a lot of books on success that talk about programming your subconscious mind before you go to sleep. Or if you've lost something, you think about, I need to find that, where is that before I go to sleep? And ding, 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 you wake up. And you remember where it is. That's your subconscious mind working, telling your conscious mind where it is. Your conscious mind couldn't remember. And the studies reveal that this is the time at night our brains work at their hardest to find solutions to any complex problems that you have. So if you can start thinking about some of those challenges, some of the problems, what are the solutions before you go to bed, many times you'll wake with the answer. It might take days, it might take weeks, it might take months, depending on how complex it is. Your subconscious mind will find the solution. So when you feel awkward, uncomfortable, it's usually your subconscious mind telling you something. Get all these links we posted at maximizeyourinfluence.com along with the special of the week. That's the place you can take your free Persuasion IQ assessment and find out how to get advanced influence training. But it's interesting, we're like, well, the brain can handle 5 things at a time. Well, it can. But your goal is to only handle one thing at a time. This article found multitasking lowers productivity, slows task completion, decreases task quality, creates stress, and leads to burnout. You can do it, go back and forth, But when you're working on a serious issue, don't multitask. Sure, you could probably talk on the phone and drive. There are a few things you can do. Listen to music, listen to personal development while you exercise. Those aren't high brain function activities. But multitasking really doesn't work for these complex problem solving. So think about your prospect. How can you get them not to multitask, to focus on one thing? Because when you can get yourself, others, your prospects, your customers, to avoid multitasking, results improve, productivity increases, persuasion's easier, it's less stressful, and people find more life satisfaction. Just saying, just putting it out there, something to think about. And that takes us to a listener email.
Oh boy!
Again, as you know, if we use your email, your humor, your suggestion on the podcast, you get the gold version of Influence University for free. This is Veronica. She says she's on the American continent. That's pretty broad, but it narrows it down a little bit. He says, Kurt, maximum influence, you talk about that 95% of all influence involves a subconscious trigger. Can you take a deeper dive and help me understand it and how to use it? Think about this. Has this happened to you? So I made a commitment to myself, eat healthier, right? This is kind of a New Year's resolution, and I was doing pretty good. And part of that resolution was no more fast food. And I was doing pretty good. But I was late for a meeting. I was starving, and I only had time for fast food. And I'm thinking, I go to the drive-thru, get a grilled chicken sandwich, light on the mayo, instead of a Coke, a Diet Coke, instead of fries, maybe a salad. I can do this. I pulled up, and I finally got to the kiosk, and this young lady asked for my order. And without hesitating, I said, I'll take a double bacon cheeseburger, large fry, and a Coke. Yeah, I was really in my mind getting a grilled chicken sandwich. All of a sudden, I have a double bacon cheeseburger coming, which has a few more calories than the grilled chicken, I believe. What happened? Where did that come from? In a fraction of a second, something changed my mind. My conscious mind wanted grilled chicken. My subconscious ordered a double bacon cheeseburger. What happened? What could have been? What were the subconscious triggers? It could have been the picture. They spend a lot of money on those pictures. They pumped the smell outside for a reason. They could have recommended it. That's a 10% bump right there. I could have heard someone else ordering it. I could have been hangry. That changes how you order things. Maybe that's my default. Grilled chicken's not my thing. Maybe my stomach wanted that double bacon cheeseburger. Maybe I saw somebody eating it. Maybe I saw a commercial the night before. All these things are running in the subconscious mind. So as the animal species whose thinking ability is supposed to separate us from the animals, we don't spend much of our life thinking or reasoning. We get stuck on cruise control. We follow that instinct, that urge, that impulse. And we do that because it's easier and faster, and we don't have time to interpret the world. We don't have time to gauge all the information. If you needed shampoo and you didn't know what to buy, you look at the 50 different options, it's too much. You have a shortcut. You have a trigger. Some buy the most expensive, some buy the cheapest, some buy what their hairdresser recommends, maybe what they have a coupon for, what their parents bought. All these things can be quick triggers that people use. Maybe it was the commercial they saw, maybe it was the smell, maybe it was the ingredients. That's why I created the 12 laws of persuasion. These are triggers that people have. That's what causes people to be more persuaded. We can't process all that information. And so our brain creates shortcuts. Now, I'm all about the logic. That's the 5%. The numbers have to work. They have to be able to afford it in their mind, but it also has to feel right. That's what we're talking about today. So why does this happen? It's the amygdala. Dr. Joseph Ledoux of New York University says, the amygdala allows emotions to dominate and control our thinking. The amygdala has control over the cortex of the brain. So what does that mean? The cortex is responsible for memory, awareness, thought, consciousness. The amygdala stores our memories that we associate with emotional events. This means subconscious triggers are always occurring and triggering feelings and emotions many times without our awareness. Probably the easiest way to say it, we are not thinking creatures that feel, we are feeling creatures that think. So basically, Everything that comes to your brain is going through your amygdala and tainted with a feeling or an emotion. Let me give you some examples. You can go back to the archives and get the podcast on these. Music that increases your adrenaline level, a color that calms you down, trusting someone you met for the first time, gestures that subconsciously make you feel uneasy, the tone of someone's voice that's an instant turn on, or we could say turn off, not connecting with someone because they act similar to someone you don't like, not liking someone because they look like someone who's wronged you in the past. So here's the key. Persuasion involves both the conscious, the logical, or subconscious, that could be the emotional path. The key is to know how much to use of each. Now, teaching a group of engineers, I'm cranking up the logic, but I'm still using the emotion. A group of marketers, maybe there's more emotion and then logic. Depends on the audience, depends on the group. So most persuasion and influence happens at a subconscious level because the brain is wired to conserve energy, avoid threats, and make quick decisions without overloading the conscious mind. Where do we see this? Someone wearing a white lab coat on a commercial, even though they're not a real doctor, gives them more credibility. A commercial showing a puppy dog or an animal in distress gets more donations than just a statistic about animals that are having challenges. A salesperson that's mirroring your body language builds rapport with you faster and makes you feel more comfortable than those who don't. There's priming. For example, people that hear the word old age, retired, gray hair, Florida will walk more slowly after that ad. Versus another study where they had people that were old and they went into a room that played their music of their era. They put clothes on from their era. They started to act younger, talk faster, and walk faster. Then we've talked about the reticular activating system in the brain, the RAS, to where after you buy a red car, you see red cars everywhere. You see the exact same car you bought everywhere. That's another example. So how can you implement this? There are a variety of ways. FOMO is a trigger. There's only 3 spots left at this price. Offer ends at midnight. Creates people to make faster decisions. There's not enough to go around. They want it more. Social validation is using testimonials, referrals, recommendations. This is the most popular choice. This is the number one in your area. It just makes more sense to follow the crowd. Has 500 5-star reviews. That's enough to give it credibility. Another one, when people accept your authority, that you're the expert, there's very little persuasion resistance. We trust the experts or perceived leaders. So when someone has a degree, an award, a certification, highly recommended, it boosts their credibility and persuasion is easier. Then we've talked about many times on the podcast using stories. Stories persuade without detection. They bypass the conscious logical mind. They go to your subconscious mind. It persuades your subconscious mind. It makes more sense. It likes stories. And it feeds a feeling to your conscious mind that this is good because of the story. Another example is obligation or reciprocity. Built into every culture in the world. You can go to a tribe in the Amazon that if you do something for somebody, they're supposed to do it back. Doesn't work for teenagers, but it works for everyone else. When you give somebody something like a sample or an ebook or a consultation, a free tire rotation, a free estimate, doesn't guarantee, but it increases the likelihood people are going to purchase and do business with you. Basically puts you on the top of the list. For example, at my office, had this guy coming by. He wanted our paper, our supplies, what we needed around the office. I'm like, we're already under contract. We're doing this. We're happy with them. And he would do this a couple times a year. Hey, would you be upset if I left a dozen warm chocolate chip cookies? No obligation. Here you go. We're like, well, duh. Afternoon warm cookies, who doesn't? And he would do this over time. And eventually we needed someone to handle those needs. And guess who was on the top of the list? Guess who came to mind? Guess who got our business? The Cookie Man. Something to think about. These triggers work. So there you have it. That's our podcast for the day. Take something that you've learned, apply it, use it in your life, understand the power of the brain. When you could understand this 95% and quit focusing on the 5%, I don't want you to do both, but let's focus on the 90% and you'll become more powerful and more persuasive. So special of the week, I haven't offered for a while. It's 111 sales hacks. These are quick daily audios, 2-3 minutes. Here's the science. Here's the hack. Here's the trigger. Here's how you apply it. You can do one a day, one a week, whatever you need to do. 50% off, $37. Go to maximizeyourinfluence.com and hit podcast 561 for the link. Go to lawsofpersuasion.com or click on the link in your email. Master these skills, become more influential, understand the human brain, and go out and persuade with power.